Here we go. Call this regular city council meeting to order on September 16th, 2024 at 6:01 PM. Roll call, please.
Mr. Eimer. Present. Mr. Bateman.
Present.
Mr. Sanders.
Present.
Mrs. McClellan.
Present.
Mr. Parrott.
Present.
Mr. Downs.
Present.
Mrs. Ross.
Present.
Mrs. O'Donoghue.
Present.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, is there anybody who'd like to speak under public participation this evening? Okay, there's no public participation. We'll start with the consent agenda this evening. Consists of 5A, payment of bills. 5B, approval of July 23rd, 2024 public hearing meeting minutes. July 23rd, 2024 special voting meeting minutes. August 5th, 2024 regular city council meeting minutes. August 13th, 2024 committee of the whole meeting minutes. And August 19th, 2024 regular city council meeting minutes. And 5C, approval of request from Spirited Republic LLC to close Pulaski Street from Kickapoo Street to the arcade entrance on Friday, October 11th, 2024 from 4 p.m. until 11 p.m. for a band performance on Pulaski Street. And 5D, approval of request from Tammy Bunner and Heather Martin to close various city streets adjacent to Scully Park on Saturday, October 12th, 2024 from 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. for parking of various vehicles and for various activities as part of the Touch a Truck event.
Motion to approve. Second.
Alderman Downs made the motion. Alderman Sanders second. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Sanders.
Yes.
Mrs. McClellan.
Yes.
Mr. Parrott.
Yes.
Mr. Downs.
Yes.
Mrs. Ross.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Donoghue.
Yes.
Mr. Eimer. Yes. Mr. Bateman.
Yes.
The next item on the agenda is item 7A, approval of bid from Opperman Construction for the 2024 curb and sidewalk replacement project in an amount not to exceed $238,800 with additional targets at a total amount not to exceed $338,000.
Second.
Alderwoman O'Donoghue made the motion. Alderman Parrott second. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Parrott.
Yes.
Mr. Downs.
Yes.
Mrs. Ross.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Donoghue.
Yes.
Mr. Eimer. Yes. Mr. Bateman.
Yes.
Mr. Sanders.
Yes.
Mrs. McClellan.
Yes.
Next item is 7B, approval of bid from Brady's Painting and Construction Incorporated for interior painting and flooring at a cost not to exceed $175,235.
Move to approve.
Second.
Alderwoman Rolfs made the motion. Alderman Sanders second. Discussion? Alderman Parrott.
Just a quick question. It was the only bid that we have. Do we know if it's a pretty legit bid? It's West. Does it seem pretty?
Yeah, I would say so. Honestly, the biggest cost increase that you're looking at is the prevailing wage. I mean, I'm not sure what anybody locally would pay their guys, but if you look at prevailing wage numbers, they're up there. So with that in consideration, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Sanders.
Yes.
Mrs. McClellan.
Yes.
Mr. Parrott.
Yes.
Mr. Downs.
Yes.
Mrs. Ross.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Donoghue. Yes. Mr. Eimer. Yes. Mr. Bateman.
Yes.
Okay, next item up is item 8A, the city treasurer's report for August 2024. Treasurer Conzo?
Thank you, Mayor. First thing you may notice about this is I've changed the format of it slightly, and the reason for that is, as you will recall, last month the council approved investing $700,000 into certificates of deposit, which we did at the United Community Bank. And as a result of that, that money came out of the general fund. So what I've done there, broken it down as usual, you have the composite account amount and then the general fund, which is part of that account, separate. I usually have that over on the right side with the general fund balances from the previous years. But what I've done is separated that out as usual, but I've put it below that, and I've added the CDs and then a subtotal with that. That's subtotal for the general fund, including the cash and checking, which is at 3.8 million plus the 700,000 that's in CDs at the present time. That's, we didn't have anything in CDs for a decade or so, more than that, because the interest rates were so terrible. But what you see there is more comparable. That subtotal is more comparable to what you see in the fund balances for the previous 4 years, 2020 through 2023. If that's clear, if there's any question about that, I'd be happy to try to answer it. If not, the IMET investments, the Illinois Metropolitan Investment Fund, those, we've had that for, I think, 2014, so it's just been coming up on 10 years here later this year. That's got 596,000. That's considered part of the fund balance. The auditors consider that part of the fund balance. However, I added that in separately because for the last 10 years I've kept that separate. That's different. That is not like a certificate of deposit. Those are investment funds that are managed by Illinois Metropolitan Investment Company or Fund. You add that in, and that gives us the total that you see there. So it would be comparable to say that 4.526 million is comparable general fund balance over what we had last year at this time, which was 4.262 million. It's kind of the bottom line there. And then the other accounts are the usual ones, and there are attachments there which specify what those balances are by account. I would like, if it please the council going forward, I've had this footnote on here now for many years about fund balances for, at one time, these funds, 10, 12, 16, 22, et cetera, those were part of the composite account, but they weren't part of the general fund. Nobody knows exactly why, but that's the way they were for a long time. When City Administrator Clay Johnson was here, he looked at that, and he and I and city clerk at the time sat down and talked about it. We moved those then from having them separate from the composite account to having them as sub-funds within the general fund, which is what's indicated in that footnote. Most of those were consolidated in June of 2013, so it's been 11 years. And it's been a little over 8 years for the last two. What those were the audit fund, the ESDA fund, the forestry fund, the liability fund. Well, those are all the IMRF, which is part of the consolidated sub-funds now, public benefits, which is the animal control, streets and sidewalk repair, all of the crossing guard sub-fund. Those are all sub-funds that you see within the budget and the appropriation that you approve each year. And I looked at that and I thought, well, there's nobody left here on the council that was here when we did this. So as long as I think any of you, and Alderman Rolfs was here prior to that when those were still sub-funds under the composite account. Other than that, I don't know that anybody pays much attention to that. Unless there's some objection, my recommendation is, if it's agreeable to all of you, is to eliminate that footnote from future reports, because it's been consolidated for so many years. If there's any objection to that, I mean, and I can, if you have questions about it, I've got those revenue expense reports from those years, from many years. I can go back and show you what those were, because we like paper, so we've got it. Anyway, moving on from that, you see the usual sources of revenue from the state. I would note, too, with the police pension fund and the fire pension fund, we have seen some improvement in those investments. We did have some months there where very little improvement, a couple of months where it went down. Those are now not listed on here. I've got, in this case, a police pension fund going back to April, fire pension fund going back to January. Still don't have August totals for the fireman's pension fund, but you can see if you look at that, we've seen some nice increases in those investments. The specific sources of revenue, Alderman Bateman pointed out before the meeting. He says, why do you go back to 2006? Well, I just think it's of some value to be able to compare it to those years. But I can go back further than that if you would like, but that's kind of what we have on there at this point. And you'll see where we are. The income tax, we're up about 100,000, little over. If you take where we were 2023, it was at 1,298,000. So we're about 116,000 over where we were last calendar year. Municipal sales tax, we're up there about 160,000. And the non-home rule sales tax, this point last year we were at 414,000, so we're over by about $21,000. Now you get to the replacement tax, and that's different. We're down there by about 300,000. So what we picked up in other revenue streams through the state has been diminished by that amount. We were expecting that to decrease, and when I sat down with the budget committee, I know I explained that to them, and so the projections that we used for the current fiscal year reflect that. I think we may come in even a little under what we projected there, so we're going to have to keep an eye on that and see where we end up. Part of this replacement tax goes into the police pension fund, part of it goes into the fire pension fund, part of it's used for IMRF, and a portion of it goes to the library, which at one time was funded entirely through the city. And that's set by law, so by state law. And the balance of it stays in the general fund. Motor fuel, you would think now with the increase in the motor fuel tax, well, we're just right about where we were a year ago with that. I mean, it's if you look at the month to month, about $5,000 over motor fuel, the basic tax, and then the extra that came through the tax increase were up about 11,000. So people aren't buying more gas; they're just paying more for it. So that's where we are. And then the video gaming, we were down a little bit over the previous year, but year to date, we're up about $4,000 over where we were over this ever popular video gaming tax. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to try to address them.
Do you know what the year-to-date tax is on cannabis?
No, but it's running about $1,600 a month, $1,500 to $1,650 a month. Sales tax.
Cannabis sales tax? Didn't mean to throw your curveball.
You got me wondering.
Okay, all right.
Well, let's look at, oh, I'm sorry, you're right. I was thinking of the use tax. The sales tax, I should have known she would catch. The sales tax, and this is about what it is, $6,000 is what it was for last month, as you'll see on the front page. And it's been running, I think, 55 to 61, 62. Yeah, the use tax, the cannabis use tax is the one that I was thinking.
And we've had that use tax for quite a while, right?
Yeah, since it
Yeah.
became legal in the state of Illinois. And that hasn't changed much from month to month.
Right. Okay. All right. Any questions for the treasurer? Mr. Bateman?
I don't have any questions, but, I get needled quite a bit, especially from the treasurer on my thoughts on financing. Obviously, I feel, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong, that we're a good steward of the taxpayers' money in this town. Perfect example of that to me is, again, get needled for not raising property taxes for the last 3 years, but yet our general fund is $264,000 year over year from last year, which oddly enough is how much a leaf vac cost coming up on fall. Thank you.
Any other questions for the treasurer or comments? Okay, thank you, Mr. Conzo. Okay, next item up is item 8B, City Clerk's Report for August 2024. Ms. Bateman.
For the month of August, we received $270,083.82 in sewer receipts, which both of the prisons paid in the amount of $39,643.66.
Questions for Ms. Bateman? Okay, thank you. Next item is 8C, Department Head Reports for August 2024. The reports are either on file already or they will be shortly on the city website. Okay, moving on to 9A, approval of mayoral proclamation 2024-498, proclaiming September 17th through 23rd, 2024 as Constitution Week in the city of Lincoln.
Move to approve.
Second.
Alderwoman Rolfs made the motion. Alderman Sanders second. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Sanders?
Yes.
Mrs. McClellan?
Yes.
Mr. Parrott?
Yes.
Mr. Downs?
Yes.
Mrs. Ross?
Yes.
Mrs. O'Donahue?
Yes.
Mr. Eimer? Mr. Bateman?
Yes.
Next item is 9B, approval of mayoral proclamation 2024-499, proclaiming September 23rd through 29th, 2024 as National Sea Tracks Think Train Week in the city of Lincoln.
So moved.
Second.
Alderwoman McClellan made the motion. Alderman Downs second. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Downs?
Yes.
Mrs. Ross?
Yes.
Mrs. O'Donahue?
Yes.
Mr. Eimer? Mr. Bateman?
Yes.
Mr. Sanders?
Yes.
Mrs. McClellan?
Yes.
Mr. Parrott?
Yes.
Okay, the last item this evening is 9C, approval of purchase, installation, and support for 4 new VFDs from Britain Electronics and Automotive in an amount not to exceed $62,800.
Move to approve.
Second.
Alderman Bateman made the motion. Alderwoman O'Donohue second. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. O'Donahue?
Yes.
Mr. Eimer?
Yes.
Mr. Bateman?
Yes.
Mr. Sanders?
Yes.
Ms. McClellan?
Yes.
Mr. Parrott?
Yes.
Mr. Downs?
Yes.
Mrs. Ross?
Yes.
Okay, that brings us down to announcements. Got a few things. First, there is a ribbon cut tomorrow at 12:15 at Loco Nutrition. And this is down in the Keokuk Village where Ryan Clark's office is. So if you can attend that, please do. The next item is a ribbon cut on Saturday at 10 a.m. for the Rail Splitter Festival. So Rail Splitter keeps growing. It's starting to get some momentum back. So if you can attend, I know that they would appreciate your attendance as well.
Where's that at?
It is at Postville Courthouse. 10 a.m. Yep. The third item I got here is movie night. So movie night is on Saturday as well. That is at 6 p.m. That is on the 8th Street lot where the old hospital was, the dog park is. So there will be free hot dogs. The DARE program is going to provide hot dogs and chips and I think drinks and water. And then there will also be another vendor serving nachos and shaved ice and a few other things. So a really neat thing to do for the community, and I hope everybody comes out and enjoys it. I also thought, given the additional activity down on Sangamon Street, maybe the fire chief or police chief would like to speak about the building, or Mr. Woodhull about the stability and the safety aspect of just being in that area.
Yeah, so as you know, the front facade gave way overnight. That was highly anticipated, to be honest, so that's why we had the barricades set up as we did. So luckily, unfortunately, that's kind of what we thought was going to happen. Spent some time with a structural engineer in there today, expecting a report hopefully tomorrow, see how to move forward with it. Waltz guys, we were able to just preemptively board up windows at Renew. We built walls there. That wall is pretty stable on Pulaski. Unfortunately, if something were to happen, I was afraid that something might hit the ground and ricochet through windows. So just as a precaution, we did that and closed up the sidewalks better than they were, I suppose. Now, we would ask everybody stay off of those 2 blocks. We've got them closed for a purpose, as evident last night. So that's about all I have at the moment. I mean, I think we secured it the best we could, and it did prove fruitful for what we did put into it. So it's kind of a work in progress at this moment. And we would ask that everyone there's no reason to be on those blocks, to be honest. I mean, I know it's maybe a shorter trip from A to B, but go around the block, please. Don't jump our barricades and everything.
Thanks to all the departments for your effort on that one. I know that, it happened at 1:30 in the morning or 2 o'clock?
I was
Oh.
about 2:30. I got a call at 4, so I think it was before that.
Never know. when.
Obviously before.
So, okay, thank you. Okay, also just worth mentioning, Lincoln was pretty busy this past weekend. You probably saw a lot of people out. The soccer tournament was going on. There was a volleyball tournament at the high school. Was there a softball tournament as well? There's a lot of activity going on this weekend, so,
We were out there for
Family
youth
fun day.
football, and the band was out playing. Someone said they were going to a competition.
yep.
The parking lot was packed Saturday for youth football. We had to park at the church.
A lot going on. Thanks to all those people.
Todd Mooring and the football group borrow some of the equipment from Up in Smoke to help power out there. For the first time ever, they had to go and rent light standards because they were forced to play night games because there were so many soccer teams. And when I talked to him late that day, the only drawback they had was they just wished they had some rain. They ended up calling Lincoln Rule with their brush truck to try to water the fields down a couple times. But there was a lot of people in this town this weekend.
And the Civic golf outing on Friday, I think they had approximately 47 teams play. Civic that's just a great group of people that's doing a lot for veterans. I think we've got enough parcels of land to build 8 more houses and funding to get started on a few more. So, we keep chugging along, doing what we can. Was there also a Hope on Fifth event happening this coming weekend? I put something on my calendar about that, like country music night or something. So go out and check out their Facebook page. They may have an activity, and if they do, we need to support them as well for all the stuff they're trying to do for the community. Okay, that's all I have. Does anybody else have an announcement? Alderman Parrott.
Just a quick question. I had some individuals contact me in regards to just providing an update on the mural, trying to get up there on Kickapoo. Wes, can you give a little bit of an update? I know that last we spoke that
They're working on the frame.
there's a gentleman that's been working on the foundation and now is currently working on the frame.
Foundation's in.
Foundation is in
Yes,
and
and
working on a frame and
Meeting him Wednesday to do a little measuring on the frame, so he's well into the frame. If he's asking for those measurements, then he's nearing the end of.
sure.
So I don't want to give you a time frame because I don't want to lie
I know.
to you. So
My hope would be sometime in October, but who knows, right?
be my hope too. I want it done as much as anybody.
We maybe enjoyed a little bit with the ribbon cut, but we're
I
thankful
don't
for
think
the gentleman being able to do it.
I think it's in the nearer future than further, to be honest with you. So
Good. We'll appreciate that. Thank you.
Any other announcements? Okay, if there are no other announcements, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Alderman Downs made the motion. Alderman Eimer second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Meeting is adjourned at 6:24 p.m.